From the deserts of paradise in Las Vegas, welcome to the deserts of Doha. We're at the Lusail International Circuit for the 2024 Qatar Grand Prix, our third visit to this MotoGP circuit, fast, flat and fearless. Welcome to Qatar. It's the penultimate stop on the 2024 calendar, then George Russell taking victory last time out, Max Verstappen becoming the world champion, which means it's only the Constructors' Championship we have to face here in November to December's Qatar race, and then the 8th of December rounds out the season in Abu Dhabi. Max Verstappen is world champion then, 403 points. Lando Norris still in a battle for second with Charles Leclerc. Piastri and Sainz as well over fourth position, closely followed by George Russell. Hamilton's too far back, then he joined Perez, Alonso, Hülkenberg and Tsunoda rounds out the first page on 30 points. On the second page, Pierre Gasly is on 26. This page not changing last time out at all. Everyone's still on the same points, with Stroll on 24, Ocon 23, Magnussen 14, Albon Ricciardo on 12, Behrman 7, Colapinto 5, Lawson on 4, and still no points for Zhou Guanyu. Logan Sargent will no longer be in the championship, and Valtteri Bottas still 23rd. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren Ferrari battling it out with an outside shot from Red Bull. Mercedes now well clear, just sort of in the middle. Aston Martin are battling as well with Haas, Alpine and VCarb over who's going to finish in 5th. Williams in 9th, and still no points on the board for Sauber on 0. Let's take a look around the Lusail International Circuit here in Qatar. First used back in 2021, not modified since MotoGP started here in 2004. Get a good exit out of the last corner, a double apex before you hurtle down the start-finish straight, past the new pit complex on the right, on the left the new grandstand. It's a long run down towards turn 1, heavy on the braking zone, it sort of filters into a double. It does flick correct in mid-corner, gently back on the throttle as you come down in towards turns 2 and 3, left-hander followed by a very quick flick to the right as well before it hurtles down. That's past the first sector point, hard on the brakes around about 70 metres, flick the car in again as you get through 1, 2 and 3 consecutives at the right. Into the left past the long lap limit from MotoGP, the heaviest braking point on the track, downhill, then back on the power, and watch as the car just flicks through the middle sector. Absolutely fantastic. It's difficult to overtake, but this section of the track flows beautifully together. Drivers love it as you hurtle back down the brakes, flick the car in to the left, then gradually get back on the power through the fastest segment on this circuit as well. It's great on MotoGP bikes, it's great in Formula 1 cars. As you go right, and right again as well, all trying to keep that toe together. And it's so tight, that third right-hander in that complex. Flat out as you come bow into the last corner once again, down on the brakes, flick the car in, gradually get back on the power, resume your normal line, open up the DRS, hurtle down the straight, and that is a lap of the Lusail International Circuit. Eyes down for Full House. Welcome to the final sprint race of the season. We're all ready to go. The atmosphere is building. The pit lane is about to open. Let's head down to the grid then, where the atmosphere is literally pumping as well, with the DJs out there. Join Simon Lazenby alongside Naomi Schiff and the 2014 World Endurance Champion, Anthony Davidson.
Yeah, it started off so well, didn't it? 7 wins, wasn't it, in the first 10? He just had to cling on, but he outdrove the car in the second half of the season.
He really has outdriven the car second half, but it started as a bit of formality, didn't it? It was a roll-on, a continuation from last year, and we thought, here we go again. But other teams, mainly McLaren, Ferrari as well, but Mercedes won races, and they brought the fight to Red Bull. It's been great to see. And with that, we saw Max Verstappen elevate himself even more so and win races. Maybe races like Imola, for example, spring to mind. Races that maybe he shouldn't have won in that equipment, as we saw his teammates struggle more and more as the season progressed. But Max has always remained near the sharp end.
But then you go to somewhere like Brazil and you see what he can do versus the other drivers from 17, and he wins by 19 seconds, and he just motors past people, and he finds grip where other people can't find grip. He's a master in the work, there's no doubt about it.
He is, and it's moments like Brazil where Max's brilliance really does show. But honestly, having grown up karting in an era at the same time as him, he was always the driver that everyone spoke about. So him being excellent comes as no surprise. But truly, it's been wonderful to see the way that he's matured in Formula One. And I think this season has been particularly difficult with things going on off track, the car not necessarily being the quickest. They've had a lot to contend with, and I think Max is becoming better in all areas. We still saw a few moments where, you know, it may have got the better of him, but as a whole, he's impressed the most this season, I would say.
Another disappointing day for Checo yesterday. He starts from the pit lane because it's in Parc Fermé. They've made some changes, but out in Q1 again. I mean, it just it goes from bad to worse. Is there any way back for him at all?
I'm not sure there is a way back for him, really. There's huge pressure on his shoulders now. Even though he says he has a contract for next year, well, we've seen contracts broken in the past, and I fear for him that might be the case.
He's got a sprint, 2 Grand Prix, 2 qualifying sessions left this season to turn the situation around, but I fear that it may be too little too late for Checo this season.
Yeah, there we go. All right, as you can say, things getting lively here on the grid. The music has started, and when we come back, the pit lane will be open for business as the sun just drops behind the horizon. Lando Norris on pole, George Russell behind him. More build-up in a couple of moments' time.
Yes, the pit lane will open shortly as well. Got a couple of penalties, though, coming our way to reveal as well on that starting grid. So it's not all going to be as smooth sailing as you like it. There's an annoying big fly that's just come into the side of the commentary box, which is... not the greatest and really annoying, so just blew that away. Hello, everybody, and welcome up to the commentary box. We're getting all set for what's going to be a very exciting final sprint race, because every time we're here in Qatar, we do have great racing. 2021, arguably not a lot of overtaking was possible, but still we saw some exciting wheel-to-wheel battles. The last year we were here, 2023, of course, it was all the Pirelli drama in terms of, well, you can't run more than 18 laps on one set of tyres, you must pit. The sprint race, of course, went to 21 laps. That had to be reduced down to 17. It was all sorts of chaos and drama. Oscar Piastri took his first ever career win as well in terms of a sprint race. But this is a circuit that gifts opportunities. It's a circuit that can provide a lot of excitement and a lot of entertaining action. So just a couple of things as well. First of all, the rubbish app that is X isn't working. So that's a surprise. So I'm going to have to get my phone up in order to show you the final classifications of the starting grid, because they are different. Sergio Perez is starting from the pit lane. He's changed his front suspension, so that's changed over as well. So it's all sort of different and chaotic to try and get who's actually going to happen. We've actually got the final starting grid finally in front of me, and we can tell you exactly what's going on. So, starting from the pit lane is cars 11 and 43 as well. So, Franco Colapinto for Williams, they have changed the front suspension on both. That's a breach of the guidelines. So, 18 cars lined up on the grid. Zhou Guanyu still at the back. But let's just say a positive about Zhou Guanyu as well. He started 19th in the main race last year, finished 9th, was able to get points. He's got a 100% points finishing record at this event as well. So he should be one where you could say would actually improve up, whether or not that car is good or not. I noticed Jess Ball's got her mic off, so I just want to say hello to Jess, who's down there in the pit lane. Hi, Jess.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. The sprint race never fails to disappoint around Qatar. It was great last season with Oscar Piastri taking a win, and there were so many drivers fighting for positions. Of course, George Russell went on the wrong tyre, I believe, in the sprint race. Let's hope that he doesn't go on that similar tyre here. But track conditions could be different than last year, so you never know.
Yes, and we'll get TV pictures on shortly as well for everybody in the commentary box. Megan Birch is on her way down as well to join us. Now, Martin Brundle's grid walk this weekend as well, so Sky have got a different attitude of how they're going to broadcast this weekend. So we hope you enjoy it. We're certainly going to give it a go, and hopefully it's all good. The pit lane is open, however, so we will be heading to green soon, and it'll all be sorted to go into hopefully a better position. I have actually noticed that the JB has disconnected, so there's obviously some problems up there on that side of things. Still no timings have been released as of yet for the graphic to show us the starting grid, and the cars are now onto the circuit, and I believe, yes, we do have some finally TV pictures as well. The pit lane is open, the cars are heading to the grid. Let's head down then over to Sky Sports F1. It's a 19-lap race ahead of us as well, and we'll open up that battle screen to show you the cars circulating as well. And Ted Kravitz will be down at the end of the pit lane as we return to Sky Sports F1.
Half an hour to go until the start of the final sprint of the year. Is that a 777, Ted?
Thank you, Simon. Yes, to be precise, a 777-300 ER of Qatar Airways, the event sponsor. But Saturday afternoon, time for a sprint race in the desert. 19 laps, remember, around half an hour. The medium tyres, one set of them, should do the distance. And thankfully, we haven't seen a repeat of any of the tyre failures we had last year since they ground down the curves a bit. So, as for who's going to win, well, we're looking at Lando Norris today, looking to win his first race of any kind since Brazil. And that was a sprint race, of course. And George Russell chasing 2 race wins in a row after the Grand Prix win in Las Vegas. But we will see how he goes. Remember, look, what about the starts? Remember Russell's great start in Vegas? Well, he will be able to challenge Lando with that McLaren's historically steady starts down to the first corner. We'll see. As he's been saying, Yuki Tsunoda and Sergio Perez have changed the setup, so starting from the pit lane. But David Croft in the luxurious commentary boxes here in Qatar. We're talking about the last sprint race of the season. Who's your money on, and how do you think Ferrari will go this afternoon?
Well, that, Ted, is a very good question. Last sprint race of the season. It's the 18th sprint race in Formula One history. But Ferrari haven't picked up a win in any of the previous 17 sprint races, and they could do with one tonight in their bid to overhaul McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. They didn't qualify well last night, though. 5th and 4th for Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz on the grid, respectively. Just be a bit in front of, I should say, Max Verstappen, who qualified outside the top 4 in a sprint race for the first time in his Formula One career. McLaren had a much better night of it, of course. 3rd place on the grid for Oscar Piastri, the man who won the sprint here in Qatar last year. His teammate Lando Norris lines up on pole position, just as he did for the opening sprint race of the season in Qatar, and he beats the car number 63, George Russell, this man here, by 63 1,000ths of a second. Now, the last time that Lando and George lined up alongside each other on the front row was Sao Paulo for the Grand Prix. George got ahead and into the lead at turn 1. What a wild race that was, of course. And Lando Norris, you mentioned steady starts, Ted, only once out of the 10 poles in Grand Prix or sprint racing as he managed to lead at the end of the first lap. That was in Singapore earlier this year. 3 teams have one more chance to score a sprint point in 2024. They are Aston Martin, Williams and Sauber, and it was suspension setup changes that mean that Franco Colapinto and Sergio Perez start this race from the pit lane. Will we get a safety car? Last year, Simon, 10 of the 19 laps were behind Bernd Mailander in the safety car. It wasn't so much a sprint as a plod at times here, but the speeds in qualifying last night, 3.5 seconds faster than last year. They're going for it, these drivers.
They are indeed, no doubt about it. Right, let's move it back onto Mercedes if we could. Lewis Hamilton was 4.5 tenths off Lando Norris yesterday and extremely, extremely disappointed. This is what he had to say afterwards.
slow, and same every weekend. So yeah, car felt relatively decent. No issues, and when you're always back where I am, it makes it very hard to be competing for well, almost impossible pretty much to be competing for wins from there. So but that's the sprint. I'll do what I can tomorrow. The positive is that the car is fast.
Yeah.
And you know, George should be able to shoot for a pole tomorrow.
But we know this isn't a you thing.
Sorry?
We know this can't be a you thing because you're saying the car is fast.
Who knows? I'm definitely not fast anymore.
You know, and that wasn't said with a hint of irony either. I mean, I think genuinely he feels now that potentially he has lost some speed on a Saturday. Would that be fair to say? I mean, it's 5-1 in sprints in terms of qualifying to George, and 17.5 in normal qualifying this year, Anthony. What is going wrong for Lewis, do we think?
That little bit of extra sparkle that you need in qualifying when you really put the car on the edge, when the tyre is new and you feel that peak grip and you teeter on the edge of that peak grip. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, but it does seem that more consistently as time goes on for Lewis, particularly in this current generation of F1 cars, I must say, since 2021 he has not struggled, but certainly had a tougher fight against George Russell in the sister car. So in the race, we still see sublime races from Lewis. Just last weekend, for example, in Las Vegas, he was the faster of the two in the race. But when it comes to qualifying, it's just not there as often as we used to see.
Both Jensen and Nico have said that the first thing they felt to go as they got older was their qualifying pace on a Saturday. Do we think that the same thing is happening to Lewis?
That is impossible for me to be able to say. I think what we have seen is that motorsport in general can be so psychological, and in Silverstone, when he won the race, you could see that release of emotion of him saying that he'd been doubting himself. And I think for someone who's been as successful as Lewis has, to constantly be beaten by your teammates and to not have a great run of form, particularly in qualifying, you can doubt yourself so quickly. And I think a lot of that can come down to the car, the way it's designed, if it completely suits his driving style or not. Maybe there's an age factor as well, but I don't know if that's what it is. But ultimately, the whole combination of whatever it might be is not working for him in qualifying. And unfortunately, as he says, where he's putting himself on the grid puts him in no position to be fighting for these victories, because come Sunday, the pace comes back.
I wonder what Ferrari will be thinking, though, hearing those comments after that. I mean, he's going up against another guy who is terrific on a Saturday in the form of Charles Leclerc.
And you can't be doubting yourself when you're moving team as well. You know, it's another thing that is hard at the best of times as a driver, when you move family, new team, new car, new drivers to race and fight against. And you know, that's the time when you need supreme confidence. And it seems bizarre to be saying this about this 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. Surely not. He'll be doubting himself as an athlete. Well, it's almost refreshing to learn that it does happen.
Yeah, but I wonder, though, you know, he's been stuck with this Mercedes car that has been, you know, I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get, as we say, from week to week. I wonder if going to this fresh challenge, the fact that he's always wanted, he said he always wanted to do Ferrari, that his hero Ayrton Senna never got to do, I wonder if that's just going to be the impetus or the boost that he needs to get it back, because, you know, he is arguably the greatest of all time, and, you know, we would all love to see Lewis Hamilton up there, wouldn't we, fighting these young bucks for a title again.
And he's also not got a decade left in the sport, so it'll be sad to see, you know, Lewis do the last chapter of his career in, you know, not the best possible way, not having the victories that he might want to have, not potentially even getting that 8th title that, you know, we all know that he deserved. So at the end of the day, I hope for him that will be the switch at Ferrari, where all of a sudden the new car, the new setup of the car maybe unlocks what we know that he has in him. It might just be that confidence that comes back.
Absolutely. Let's see, and we will watch closely. It's going to be a fantastic year next year in 2025, no doubt about it. Now, fast-flowing corners, as we know here in Qatar, which means a lot of G-force on the drivers' heads and necks, as Bernie and Ant explain.
For this episode of F1 Explained, we're going to be focusing on
GeForce.
something you often hear us talk about as drivers, in particular GeForce, and you might have seen it sometimes as well on the halo graphics when riding on board with the car, the G meter. But Bernie, let's throw a bit of science into this. What exactly is GeForce?
Well, Ant, G-force is actually an acceleration. An acceleration is the rate of change of speed. Where the G comes into it is the acceleration that gravity puts on our bodies from the Earth. 1 G in your road car is accelerating from 0 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour in 2.7 seconds.
But that's in a longitudinal sense. That's straight line acceleration, of course. What we're talking about here in a corner like turn 14, the cars will be blasting through this corner at 160 miles an hour.
Like you're just hanging on, you know?
The car is following a path as it accelerates to the inside of the corner and momentarily leaves your body behind, and you want to go straight on. That's the feeling of being pushed into the side of your car. The road car can only really generate 1 G of lateral acceleration because it's limited by grip.
Yes, and a Formula 1 car generates much more grip through higher downforce levels and the slick tyres that we see. So a Formula 1 car is generating 4 to 5 G, so much, much more than what you experience in the normal road car.
The head, instead of weighing 6 to 7 kilos, is now weighing around 30 to 40 kilos because of those 4 or 5 G that's being exposed on the body. And just to put that into context, that's the equivalent of a full-size goat resting on your head as you're going through the corner. And that is GeForce explained. A full-size goat.
So that's what the G stands for, eh? I mean, this is...
made me say it.
I mean, you've driven this one on the sim. How much would you like to be in an actual Formula 1 car around it? Because it is quick.
It's an epic circuit, it really is. I mean, when you drive it in the simulator even, you cannot believe the speed the car's going around the corners. And you look at the data based on the real-life situation, and lo and behold, the real car's even faster. And you think it really boggles the mind. It really, what these drivers are going to go through today and tomorrow, huge amounts of G-force exposed on the body.
And just very quickly, Naomi, you know, the amount of training they have to do, the force training, because it's not in one direction. It's moving around all the time, which is why drivers all look like Buzz Lightyear up here.
They do. It's very specific training that the drivers can do, but obviously there's no training like the real thing. There's also a lot of tracks that go clockwise, and then you've got some tracks that go anti-clockwise, and even just that, you'll have strength on one side of your neck more than the other. But they are lucky they have a headrest, and sometimes you can add a little bit of extra foam, and you can see Lando going through some of the corners, kind of leaning his head on the headrest for a little bit of help.
Yeah, a tough one on the neck, no doubt about it. Right, let's head out there onto the grid, because somewhere in there are Ted Kravitz and Bernie Collins.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yes, you're doing the grid tomorrow. Martin Brundle's back in Abu Dhabi, so we thought we'd do Bernie Collins's F1 people. Bernie's people today, explaining to you who is on the grid, who all these people are, and what they're doing, as well as explaining some of the stories to look out for in today's sprint race. So who should we start with, Bernie? Who's in charge of each car? We've got Esteban Ocon. I'm sure he'd prefer to be a bit further up the grid than he is, but who's sort of overall in charge of each car now?
Yeah, so he'd definitely prefer to be further forward, but if we see there just in front of his car, we've got Josh, his race engineer. Now, each car is a race engineer. That's who we hear talking to the drivers during the race. They're in control of the car setup, talking to Esteban through all of the details of this race. But in this instance here, they're making sure the car's ready to go, everything's at the right temperature, and when Esteban comes to get in, they have a race situation that they understand fully.
So Josh on the right-hand side
Josh
here,
on the right-hand side.
And he's talking on his little talkback panel here to all of the mechanics and different sets, and then a tyre guy as well.
Exactly, yeah. So he's controlling the car, if you like to think of him as a conductor of the orchestra in this particular case. And he is talking to the pit wall, he could be talking to the factory. Lots of people.
Factory?
He could be talking to the factory, yeah. They can all hear what he's saying. trying to make sure that that car is ready to go whenever the lights go out.
Okay, you'll recognise some of the team principals on the grid because they're here as well. There are two of them at RB. There's Peter Bayer on the right and Lauren McKees on the left. They're also accompanied by some PR people because you have to have a PR person. That's Fabi Valenti. She's in charge of the PR here at RB. Where the team boss goes, you've got to have somebody who's marshalling them. That's fair enough.
Exactly, and we all follow it at home, so we see the photos that comes out from all of the different companies, all the different marketing. So those are the people that are responsible for that. The team principal obviously sits above the race engineer, looking at the decision that he's making, trying to make sure that the cars are all working as they can.
Now, time is critical. Let's have a look at this top stopwatch around the neck of Mark Slade, who's, of course, Kevin Magnussen's engineer. So will that be on a count up or a count down?
So that'll be on a countdown to race start. We always talk in minutes to go to lights out, if you like, minutes to go to the start of the formation lap, and they will actually sync that to the FIA time in this weekend, and that's the first thing they do whenever the countdown starts earlier today.
Now, of course, you spent many happy years as a strategist for McLaren and for Aston Martin, but strategists aren't on the grid, are they?
No.
Instead, they're on the pit wall, and I think I can spy a McLaren strategist.
A friendly strategist, can you?
Hello in there. Hello, Randy. Are you there? That's Randy Singh, of course, the McLaren strategist. There we go. And why do the strategists stay on the pit walls?
Because strategists love data, Ted. You know that about me. So we're always keeping an eye on the weather conditions, the track temperature. They will be feeding that information to the race engineer, and the race engineer will be coming back to them asking about wind conditions or different things.
Who have you spotted? Who are these chaps and what do they do?
So again, we've got another race engineer coming, but then we've also got a tire mechanic. So in the hat, just there, you can see, commonly known as Biscuit. One of the great things in Formula One is that most people have a nickname, and whenever you try and email them, you can never remember their real name. So Biscuit is a tire mechanic on Lance Stroll's car.
Okay,
so what he's doing is he's checking that the tyres that are about to go on the car.
But he looks like, so Biscuit's doing a remote bleed here, it looks like, or a remote tyre pressure adjust.
So he'll be doing a tyre pressure adjust. That needs to be done before the tyres go on the car. He's checking that they're at the right pressure, they're all up to temperature, that everything's ready when this set goes onto the car. And you notice there's a set currently on the car as well. That'll come off and the new ones will go on.
Yeah, okay, so that's fascinating actually. And that's something that people might not realise, is that there is this remote. You don't, when you pre-pressure all of the, come around here Kieran, when you re-pressure all the tyres, you don't have to go through all the fuss of doing them individually because they each have their little remote bleed on here.
Exactly, so they all have a bleed, and that just makes it convenient for them because they're in this big stack, so he doesn't want to have to take them all off and on all of the time. We're getting a lot of heat from these Aston Martin lots here.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Thanks, Biscuit. Excellent. And then you've got a chief mechanic as well. Not a chief mechanic, but, well, you do have chief mechanics, but you have a sort of head of engineering.
Yes,
and that would be, in Aston's case, Tom McCulloch here.
Tom McCulloch, yeah, my old boss.
Why is
He's looking nervous as well, isn't he?
Why does he need to be? Well, let's ask himself. Why do you need to be on the grid, and what's your job on the grid?
That's a really good question. To be honest, I'm just here overseeing, making sure that both race engineers, both drivers, both number one mechanics are happy, feeding information between the two cars and just getting a feeling for what the track's like.
Sounds good, Tom. I think he's explained it pretty well, hasn't he?
What happens, thank you, Tom, what happens when something goes wrong? Who would be a sort of floating crisis person?
There's lots of floating crisis people, but a few people have spotted here.
In the case of a crisis.
So a few people have spotted here that we can explain as well. So just at the back of the car here, we have Jin Mazasaki, who is the tyre engineer. So with those tyre mechanics, we have a tyre engineer that's working to optimize tyre performance, and they're often the person giving the direction to the tyre mechanics as to what pressures and temperatures to set things at.
Okay, all right. What about physios? We can see this is Alex Albon's car. Patrick, his physio, sometimes comes onto the grid. Sometimes there he is, unmistakable ginger beard here with Patrick. So all the physios will be on here. Leaf blower to keep the drivers cool, and all of their stuff in here as well. AA Mexico. So he had the special helmet for Las Vegas, did Alex Albon, has now gone back to the Mexico spec.
Yeah, and
but important to have the physio on.
The physio, very important job. One of the things that people maybe don't realise is they are just for the driver. They very rarely do a role within the team outside of that, looking after that driver, making sure he's at the correct weight for the start of this race. We often have cars coming in overweight and that, or underweight, and that is responsibility of the physio generally.
Okay, and what about, I mean, we've got the FIA here, they have to keep an eye on it, but what about the scrutineers? There is a scrutineer here for each car appointed by the FIA, and they need to keep an eye, there's another one behind the Mercedes here, they need to keep an eye on anything that mechanics are doing, but how do they know what's allowed and what isn't?
So the scrutineer will change track to track. That's not someone that travels with the team. Most of the parts on the car actually that can be removed are labelled up. So they're keeping an eye that a part that comes off is the same one that goes back on.
Okay, listen, Bernie, fascinating. I could go on. We're only got up to Lewis Hamilton's car. We've got many more people who we need to know. The electronics guys, the car's engine will not fire out without them.
Yeah,
so they
exactly.
have their laptops there and they're ready to actually fire it up. So we will pick this up and do more Bernie's people on the grid sometime next year. But that's it for now. Simon, what kind of people have you mixing with at the front of the grid?
Mixing with some very talented pundits, there's no doubt about it, if I can call them that. And let's get into, I mean, this wind, it was blowy yesterday. It's arguably a stronger wind today.
It's picking up all the time. It seems to have got onto the grid. It's got stronger as well, and it's a headwind down the main straight. That's good news for us. It could potentially see more overtaking because of that. Creates more drag, as of course it hits the cars. But for the drivers, it's going to be pretty tough work as they navigate this high-speed circuit. It's going to blow them all around.
And it could make the start really interesting too. I mean, obviously George got a really good start in Vegas, so let's see how much pressure he's able to put Lando on. But for cars that are tucked up behind them, they'll get a real strong slipstream with this headwind down into turn 1. So let's keep an eye on that as well.
Important this, we know for McLaren, 25 ahead at the moment, 45 ahead at the end of the weekend. The Constructors is theirs. They've got a good opportunity with both cars ahead of the Ferraris to increase that gap.
This track, we thought it before we even came here, this is a McLaren track. They have to make points while they can.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. That is final preparations. The helmet goes on for Lando Norris. They finished 1-3 in the sprint last year. It was Oscar Piastri who picked up victory in 2-3 on the Sunday. Well, George Russell will be challenging. What about the Ferraris? Max Verstappen from 6th. Qatar Sprint is next.
Yeah, the tension is rising as well as we get ready for the F1 sprint race, the final one of 2024. On your screen right now, that is the current tyre sets remaining for everybody. So you can see majority have all new hard tyres. Drivers only one hard left: Leclerc, Sainz, Albon and Colapinto. Everybody else has 2. In terms of medium compound tyres, we've only got Verstappen with 1 new. Perez has 2. Russell, Hamilton 1 apiece. Leclerc and Sainz have no new medium tyres left. Don't forget, we've still got to go through actual qualifying and the Grand Prix. So that's very unusual for Leclerc and Sainz to sacrifice all their medium tyres in a race. Further down, 3 sets left for Colapinto, so that's going to be good. But the key battleground here is going to be on the soft tyres. Take a look. 4 to 5 new sets for everybody in that field. It's going to be very, very close indeed. Well, alongside me in the commentary box of this one is also Ed Hunter, and he's joining us now once again for the sprint race. Good afternoon, Ed. Welcome to you. The last sprint of the year. How are you doing?
Oh, good, thanks. Sorry I couldn't wake up early enough for Vegas, so I left that one to you guys. But yeah, it sounded like it went pretty interestingly, and Manx got to win the championship, and I got a lion, so everybody won when you think about it.
Yep. Fingers crossed all around.
But yeah, I guess focus now is all on the constructors, and of course Norris getting that great pole position, but there seems to be a lot of people speculating he'll fluff the start. I mean, he didn't fluff it at Singapore, did he? He absolutely aced that one, but all the others have been a little bit neither here nor there, have they? He's rarely one to make a brilliant getaway off the line, is he? But of course, Qatar, pretty long main straight, so even if Norris doesn't get ahead into turn 1, the McLaren's got good pace around here. Even if Russell jumps him, I think Norris has got a good chance of winning this one. It'd just be the big unknown is how the Ferraris are going to do, because we really don't know. They seem to be the wild card as usual.
Ferrari starting 4th and 5th. Their pace went nowhere after the only practice session when they looked really strong. Qualifying could be a key interesting factor. Getting ready then for the start procedure. Let's head back quickly over to Simon.
It is the final sprint of 2024. It is blowy. It is a slippery track. Lando Norris and George Russell on the front row of the grid. Constructors still up for grabs. It's the Qatar Sprint.
The tense, nervous nervous moments before the start.
The pressure is on.
Hey mate, let's go. There are nerves. You can do this. Focus now, focus. Oscar, approach at the back of the road. At 5 seconds, good luck. Are you ready for some action?
It's the final sprint race of 2024. It's round 23 of the FIA Formula One World Championship. It's our third of 4 stops here in the Middle East. Welcome to the Lusail International Circuit in Doha, Qatar. This circuit, built originally for MotoGP, now hosts Formula One. 19 sprint laps ahead of us, no mandatory pit stops, 1 DRS zone, and a fast-flowing circuit. For motorcycle racing, the riders say there's no place like it. Fantastic overtakes, fantastic close speeds and drags. Formula One can only do best here as well. Tyre compounds: hard C1, medium C2, soft C3. In this race, though, it's going to be a toss-up between mediums and softs. 19 laps can handle on softs, but tyre degradation here is always a factor to consider as well. The night has fallen here as well, unusually early on as well. Let's take a look at how they will line up on the grid then for this one. Pit lane start for Sergio Perez and Franco Colapinto, changing the front suspension. Esteban Ocon lines up 17th, but Joe Guan Yu sadly once again after a Q2 in Las Vegas down to 18th and last in the qualifyings. Yuki Tsunoda is 16th, alongside him is Kevin Magnussen lining up 15th on the grid as well. And then we see Lance Stroll in 14th alongside Valtteri Bottas, who goes well here but has had mixed fortunes. He's 13th. Alexander Albon is 12th with Fernando Alonso in 11th place as well. Top 10, Liam Lawson lines up alongside Nico Hülkenberg, who starts 9th. Pierre Gasly, 8th on the grid. Again, another impressive qualifying performance from that Alpine. Lewis Hamilton missing gear shift down into 7th, says the car's just not fast anymore. 4-time world champion Max Verstappen starts in 6th. Charles Leclerc starts in 5th. Carlos Sainz is 4th on the grid alongside Oscar Piastri in 3rd. And it's George Russell who lines up 2nd for a British front row, with Lando Norris on pole once again for the sprint this year. Yeah, it's an interesting grid, it's an interesting lineup as well, and it's our second Saturday race in a week. Las Vegas on a Saturday, Qatar Sprint on a Saturday. Try and get that right.
It's like we're in the 80s again, isn't it?
It
Where
really
F1 used to be on Saturdays.
And of
Or
course,
Formula E today.
yeah, so technically we've had 6 sprint races on a Saturday, plus the 3 races. This is actually our 9th race on a Saturday this year. That is insane. I think that's the most in history in one season of races on a Saturday. Out of the total of 30 races, 9 of them on a Saturday. Megan Birch has wandered into the commentary box and is immediately batting away a fly that's been hanging around for the past 30 or so minutes.
A way to talk about Sergio Perez.
He is starting for the pit lane, and Red Bull wish they could bat him away as well half the time, but he clearly has something. What do you think about Perez as well? Out again in Q1, took this opportunity for a new front suspension to try and help him in qualifying later. Do you reckon he's actually going to do well this weekend?
Well, I think Perez might. It's a typical driver of the day strategy, isn't it? If you're one of the front runners, qualify badly, make your way through the pack, and then everyone's like, "Wow, didn't he do a good job?" Even though he really should have been running up front to begin with, rather than starting 20th and finishing 5th or 6th. But anyway, yeah, I think Perez is sort of someone that either he seems to think he's assured of a seat for next season, or he feels like there's just nothing he can do to get the car working the way that he wants. That this is the Red Bull, this is the car that Max Verstappen can just about drive, and Sergio Perez can just about not drive effectively. But yeah, it's going to be. I'd be very surprised if he finishes in the top 8, given the length of the sprint being quite short.
Megan Birch, hello. What are you making of this one? 19 laps ahead of us as well.
I think it'll be a good preview to the race. See what we're in for tomorrow. Also, a little bit ominous there from McLaren. Just buy on the radio. Just one singular word.
Jess Ball's down in the pit lane for us as well. Omi's hanging around in the background. Evening, Jess. All set then for a sprint race. First of 3 races today.
Insane of how the skyline looks absolutely beautiful around Qatar at the moment in some parts of the track. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. Lando Norris starting on the side of the grid, which has more grip. But Lando Norris hasn't been that good in terms of starts. George Russell has. So we'll see. It's going to be quite even. We'll keep an eye on the other McLaren and also the 2 Ferraris. It's going to be an interesting fight for the Constructors' Championship. If McLaren both score well in the sprint, then Ferrari will need an uphill battle. But if Ferrari do well, vice versa. But looking forward to it. Should be good.
Everybody, it looks like, is on the medium tyres in this run, just as a heads up, so we'll keep an eye on it. Apart from Zhou Guan Yu, I believe he has got a different tyre setup. I'm trying to find out what he's got. He's going on the soft, so Zhou's going to start on the softs there. 19 laps ahead of us. Don't forget, this time last year we had the safety car for the crash between Hülkenberg, Ocon and Perez. It's a tight circuit to get right. Lando Norris lining up. He's on the right-hand side of our picture. And on the left-hand side is George Russell. Filtering behind is Piastri and Sainz. And Ed, this is going to be an eternity as they wait, because the track temperature, as soon as the sun sets, it's going to start getting very, very colder. We're sort of at a crossover point like in Bahrain.
Yeah, and I've been thinking back to last year where they sort of had to do sprint length stints, didn't they, in the 2023 race, because the tyres, they were worried about them exploding, and so they put them on the mandatory stint lengths that nobody was allowed to exceed, essentially. So I think Albon got quite close in the Williams, but everyone else basically pit before then. So yeah, we're effectively about to see one of those stints play out before our eyes.
Megan, prediction for turn 1?
Collision, but I'm just hopeful.
2 in the pits, 18 on the grid. Final sprint race then of 2024. The fans on their feet. All set then to go. Medical car at the back, green flag in position. Zhou Guan Yu comes to a halt, and the revs rise as the lights come on with 3, 4, 5. Hold. Drop the clutch, it's action for the F1 sprint. Great start from Lando Norris. Russell will come across to defend from Piastri. Piastri almost running with Russell in the side. Hamilton's diving up the inside of Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc's dropped back to 5th, Sainz up to 4th. Russell still going wheel to wheel. Piastri on the inside line to 3. It's a McLaren 1-2 before we even get to the 3rd corner. Ferrari's further back, battling with Hamilton as well. It's Leclerc who's dropped back. Sainz up then into 3rd. Russell trying to go back round the outside of Piastri into 4. Hasn't worked out through the Kings of 5 and 6, and again Leclerc trying to go through on the inside of Hamilton. Piastri runs on the dirt at the exit. Russell trying to look for a way round the outside, not going to work, and that's one of the RBs going through at the back. That's Liam Lawson dropping 3 places, and Russell's on the inside of Piastri down in turn 7. Can't get away through there. It's a McLaren 1-2. Norris leads by 1.2 seconds.
Somehow both Hülkenberg and Gasly managed to pass Verstappen.
Yeah, Verstappen's dropped down into 9th place, Ed, but it's all chaos further back. That's what you get when this track is so tight in the mid-sector. Designed for motorcycles, not Formula cars.
Yeah, exactly, and it looked like Verstappen, I think, just got a little bit stranded on the outside at the first couple of corners, and yeah, Gasly and Hülkenberg taking advantage there, but dream start for McLaren, nightmare start for Ferrari, because now they've got Lewis Hamilton splitting them, and Hamilton once more seeming pretty fired up to catch up with his teammate, much like we saw in the race last time out at Vegas a week ago then. But McLaren, they can control this one now quite comfortably from the front, and with the distance, they've only got to do so for 17 more laps. So McLaren, as long as Piastri can keep Russell at bay, McLaren looking good.
Russell cannot get anywhere near without DRS down to turn 1. Verstappen dropped down from 6th. There goes Lance Stroll looking to the inside line of Valtteri Bottas for 12th. Zhou Guan Yu and Tsunoda also doing battles further back, and Zhou's past Lawson as well. So the RB's getting mugged by the Sauber. Haven't said that often this year.
I wonder if they have altitude sickness.
What's happened to Sergio Perez? He was ahead of Colapinto in the pit lane, and Perez has dropped right behind Colapinto. And looking at the driver tracker, you can see just how big of a gap Colapinto's got to Perez. It's already 2.5 seconds. Something's not right with Perez. As we look at Russell and
that's been the case all season, hasn't it?
I'm going to have a look at his onboard, actually, from this one. Where do they start? Here we go. Perez's onboard I've selected. And it's on now. Yeah, he's cruising out there. Perez is cruising. There's something wrong with that Red Bull, unless they've just taken this as a test session out of qualifying. But
it wouldn't surprise me, especially if they want to just keep the components safe. It's like not worth getting damage in the sprint, is it?
yeah, this is also bad news for Red Bull. For the first time, they look like they're not going to score any points in the sprint race. Max Verstappen has won 4 of the 6 this year. He is already the sprint champion as well as the world champion, but it looks like Lando might take 2 of those off him. Russell's got DRS now. It's been activated. He can't get close enough. He thinks about it. Piastri went defensive into turn 1. The right-hander that goes on forever can't seem to get through, and Hamilton stuck behind Carlos Sainz as they begin to get out. Piastri 1 second to Norris, on board with Verstappen, 6/10 he's got to Gasly.
He cannot pass him.
No, he can't. This is the problem that we see in this circuit. Murray Walker says it again. Catching is one thing, passing is quite another. This circuit is literally the definition. Can't find a way through here or there. Go on, Ed.
So important in the constructors as well for Gasly to stay with Hülkenberg and get at least a point out of this, because they are a 1 point behind Haas, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they really need to make sure Hülkenberg doesn't escape up the road here. So Gasly's effort's absolutely crucial right now to keep Verstappen at bay.
Haas on 50, Alpine on 49. Coincidentally, Haas went into the previous race on 49 points. As it stands in the Constructors' Championship, though, at the top, McLaren will be on 623, Ferrari 592. Red Bull, getting nothing, will drop to 555 still and drop massively behind Ferrari and McLaren. That's not good news. Effectively, let's not forget that Max Verstappen has, what, over 420 odd points in the championship?
Most of them are him.
Yeah, most of them are Max Verstappen, as Russell much closer to Piastri this time. You can see Piastri looking in his mirror. Russell dives on the inside line at turn 1. Piastri, though, can use that MotoGP line that Lando taught him last year and hold it round the outside and keeps it nice.
Doesn't even have to push him off.
The inside line is not the overtaking spot into turn 1, it's the outside line. We saw that with Alonso and Hamilton, Norris and Russell. Even Russell last year got beaten by Norris with that very overtake and Piastri.
Russell.
Just turn into me.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. He's racing how you're meant to race on this circuit, like a MotoGP driver.
Russell should
Right.
remember that from last year. It's exactly the same manoeuvre, Ed.
So he did.
Yeah, and wasn't there this whole thing with the GPDA where Russell's like trying to define sort of incidents about whether you're allowed to push people off track or not? And it's sort of like, well, if you're the car on the inside, then the guy on the outside's got to basically let you through. Is the sort of was the sort of gist of it? Or if you're on the inside, you're allowed to push them to the outside as long as you don't push them off track. I think from the outside, if you've got the overlap, you should be allowed to sweep around. So George seems to be trying to change the rules of F1 so that he can basically overtake people from a long way back, and people just let him through, which I don't think is how racing should or ever will work. And certainly Oscar Piastri seems to agree with me. The winner, of course, of this sprint last year, so I don't think he needs any schooling from Lando this time around.
The right side of the track seems to be the dominant side when you want to... Well, technically it's the right side if you're looking at it from the front. So, a little bit of an off there, you can see, I think that's Hülkenberg.
Yeah,
he was almost
Hülkenberg,
getting pushed off. But he managed to immediately pass Verstappen afterwards, see?
Yeah, Verstappen was twitching, that's why. He had no grip on those mediums. As Ed was saying, it takes a couple of laps to get these medium tyres up to temperature.
Wow. Oversteer is an understatement.
And it was Max who went off the track there, Ed.
He basically left.
Yeah. Oversteer is an understatement, not to be confused with understeer is an overstatement.
Now let's have a look at Russell. Did he turn on it? I don't know. That seems like Piastri was on the outside.
I mean, he needed to go there anyway.
Russell wasn't far enough along the inside to have that corner. Yeah. He obviously felt that he was, but you've got a slightly warped perspective in the cockpit, haven't you?
Yeah, goldfish bowl you're looking through. That's what Lizzie said as well. That you
helmet,
sort of, yeah, Lizzie says that when you have one of those visors on, she was talking to us about MotoGP in the race. if you have the visor on, it's weird how much you can actually see out your peripheral vision. It's like you get extra space almost that you can normally see. It's like it bounces back. So, imagine that in the Formula 1 car, you only see cockpit, the head restraint alongside you. So it's impossible to see. And the mirrors do absolutely nothing.
Did I just see a visor strip?
I think you did. I thought I saw that as well. But Russell's got the DRS again on Piastri. He's too far
I saw
back
that too with Piastri.
Oh, hello. Norris has backed off massively. Norris has made a mistake. I thought I saw some dust. Norris has dropped a second to Piastri now. And now Oscar, for the second year running, looks like he wants to take this sprint race right up there.
Yeah, may as well.
Oh, well, keep going.
It is Norris dropping back to give him DRS, though. That could be what's happening here, because they know how quick the Mercedes is in a straight line here.
But would that risk the McLaren 1-2? Because Russell is going to just go for it. He's got nothing to lose.
Does McLaren really care which order the cars finish in at this point, given the Drivers' Championship is out of reach? I'm not sure they do.
I presume they don't. They've got to be now both fully focused on the constructors. But in that case, yeah, it's sort of...
They're just focused on team win, they don't care who.
It's a really strange situation where they're going to be... They look likely to be the Constructors' champions. They could wrap it up this weekend, McLaren, but it looks likely it's going to go down to Abu Dhabi. It would require both Ferraris to DNF or not score any points in tomorrow's race. This was Magnussen's start that we spotted, Megan. Demon start from him. And he's already up 5 places. He went through the field like a knife through butter and almost had contact with Fernando Alonso and Valtteri Bottas.
Well, I think that's just a great way to start the end of his term as an F1 driver.
And look at that. That's what I'm proving again. The outside line in turn 1 is the superior move. And now we've got the DRS train coming down into turn 1. Nothing's going to happen this time around. And Max Verstappen stuck behind the Pink Panther of Pierre Gasly.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
What fell?
I have no idea what fell from the top of the commentary box on your head there. As we now look at Piastri, yeah, look at that. So he's backed off Ed, sector 2 has Lando. That's in the mid half of the sector. So it does look like that's on purpose. I'm trying to give Oscar DRS every lap. Yeah, so you were spot on there. Yeah, great spot.
And it makes perfect sense given the length of the race. It's not like Norris is thinking, oh, if I slow down now, I'll run out of tyres or whatever. He's just sort of thinking, right, we got to secure the 1-2 here and think completely about Team's Championship. And yeah, Piastri is doing everything right. Oh, he was, up until he went a little bit skateboardy over that curb there. So Russell is going to see that and start to think if the Mercedes has got its tyres in better nick, now might be the moment to strike it as we approach half distance in the race.
Exit of turn 10 is very similar to the exit of turn 15 we're approaching now. You can just sort of carry too much speed in the exit and get caught on the curbs like magnets. Those curves, they suck you into the vacuum. As we take a look at the replay, this is Liam Lawson getting ahead of his teammate Tsunoda. No, this is him getting ahead of Joe. And
Joe.
Yeah, and Joe's also been passed by Tsunoda. So something else happened in that little mix-up because they've all 3 swapped places.
Yeah, Perez is caught up to Colapinto as well at the very back of the field, but they're both stuck behind Joe. Now as Verstappen finally goes up the inside of Pierre Gasly and snatches the final point Spain position away from Alpine.
Alpine not happy about that then, especially with Hülkenberg in 7th. That's 2 points on the board, so Haas are going to jump them ahead of tomorrow's race as well. Remember, no points for qualifying, points for the sprint, down as well to 8th position. We've now got Sainz closing up behind Russell. It's a 5-way fight here. How reminiscent of Harama in 1981 are we going to get? Norris, Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, all within a second of each other.
Norris isn't exactly Gilles Villeneuve, though.
No, he's not. Well, never been world champion.
Oh, that's true, that's true. How many wins does Norris have to his name? About 3, isn't it? His Grand Prix win.
Yes, exactly 3, and 1 sprint.
And Villeneuve had 6, with Harama 81 being his very last one, actually, of course.
And I think the best, one of the best.
Yeah, it's certainly gone down in folklore, hasn't it? A lot of Gilles Villeneuve's drives have. But that was one where he obviously didn't have the fastest car, but in terms of the corners. But the turbo on that Ferrari absolutely saved him. It was like basically driving a brick around Madrid for about 90 minutes. But somehow he was able to win that one. And certainly the McLaren a much better car.
No, he couldn't do it. Never mind.
He tried.
Yeah, he was just throwing up a shower of sparks to try and put off Piastri there more than anything else.
He tried to surprise Piastri, bless him, but You want that surprised.
It's just cost Russell a bit more time now, and he's going to have to think. He's vulnerable to Carlos Sainz. Verstappen's done a 1:25.224. He's got the fastest lap of the race so far. So that's a very dominant position to be in for Max. He is starting to close up. Could it be still on the cards? I mean, we're not exactly seconds away from him. He's only 8 seconds back with 11 to go. It's possible for Max.
Yeah, I think maybe if he does, I think he'll at most just reach the podium if he keeps trying.
Remember Shanghai. That's all I'm going to say.
They could all crash out.
That was a long time ago. The Red Bull was in a much better place relative to everyone else in the development cycle at that point. They hadn't yet gone quite down the blind alley at that. That was the last one that they won, actually, Shanghai, the race, the main Grand Prix there, in terms of Verstappen. Before that, Miami onwards, and basically the McLaren was sort of on terms and then faster, wasn't it? And then a couple of times the Ferrari and Mercedes had the edge in cooler or different temperatures. There we go, final 10 laps of the race, and yeah, I think this is sort of the problem with DRS, and hopefully why the 2026 rules would be a good thing, getting rid of it, because it will stop this sort of situation. And I think it's also an issue with sprint races as well, because in a main Grand Prix, Norris wouldn't bother giving DRS to Piastri, because he'd be trying to build as big a gap as possible to make sure Russell wouldn't be able to undercut him, essentially. But because it's so short, because there's no pit stops, he can afford to sort of do this sort of Singapore 2023 style tactic that Carlos Sainz is giving him DRS, so that he could hold on to the lead from the Mercedes. And this is, there we go, Colapinto just goes clean around the outside of Perez, who Perez has not dropped the clutch properly. A little bit cheeky from Colapinto, but he did overtake after they crossed the pit exit. He did have two wheels on the inside. He didn't cross the actual pit exit line, so I think Franco might be okay with that one.
I think Sergio Perez might be called to the stewards for that one. Because as soon as the green light goes, it's supposed to be like an actual race start. He's supposed to leave the pit lane.
Yeah, and he was doing a practice start.
And he was holding up Colapinto, and that's deliberate blocking in a Grand Prix. So.
Yeah, Colapinto was not having that.
Yeah, I think Perez might be
it's a
called
sprint,
for that.
not a Grand Prix.
Oh yeah, well, the sprint,
deliberately block people in the sprint. It reminded me a bit of Hungary 21, where was it George Russell and Williams ran the outside of Ocon. But that was obviously pits just before the actual start of the race, because they hadn't crossed the pit exit line at that point. The overtake was made in the pits before the actual start of the race, while they were lining up at the exit. So I think that was why Russell knew he was going to get the penalty and end up giving the place back.
Personally, I think that shouldn't have been a penalty for Russell back in 21. In my opinion, that was a genius move, and it should have been allowed, because his pit box at the end of the field, he came out ahead after a pit stop that was just as competitive as a Grand Prix, and he got the advantage.
I'm pretty sure he came out just behind Ocon and then overtook him in the
I don't
pits
remember this.
before the pit exit line, before the race started. So yeah, that's the closest point of comparison I have to that. But because the overtake happened after both cars crossed the pit exit line in the sprint as well, no less, it'll probably be okay then because of that technicality. It's up from watching Formula E and people trying to make overtakes in the pit lane under safety car because the safety car is so slow. But that's I've learned through a hard experience how the rules work. So.
It's getting closer and closer now at the front, but it looks like they're getting. Here's noise radio.
Oscar almost has DRS to Russell, so if you can do maybe a tenth quicker, that would help.
Yeah. And he's responded. He has responded. It's 8 tenths now.
Does he mean he's got the gap to get out of DRS range of Russell?
Yeah, the gap between them is 8 tenths of a second between Piastri and Russell, so he has that advantage. And Russell's falling into Sainz.
Did anyone else notice when Perez was starting the sprint, the way his wheels moved?
Yeah, they came inwards again, didn't they?
Yeah, the front wheels, especially the left one. It
you mean the camber?
Strangely, and I can't pinpoint what exactly it is.
We will go
it's
through
like
that.
It's like they shook.
We'll go through that with awesome super slow-mo later on in the qualifying show.
Red Bull under investigation for active suspension.
Well, even Mercedes had some scrutiny about that with the wheel moving.
Yeah, DAS,
yeah. They looked in Vegas. They thought they had DAS again.
A part of me thinks that he was distracted by it.
Yeah. There's the MasterCard logo on the side of the McLaren. Looks like they're going to become a new permanent sponsor.
You very nearly said MasterCard Lola there.
I did. I stopped myself. How many times am I
A
going to do
different
that?
kind of Lola next week to talk about.
Yeah, I'm worried that I'm gonna trip up several times as well. It's clashing with the Formula One, so myself and Ed will be on probably the qualifying and the race show, certainly the race show for those both, and then Megan will take you through Q1 of Abu Dhabi.
Yay.
Alongside Jess, JT and Omi, and probably Lizzie, if she's around as well. So,
fastest lap for Russell, so he's got the speed up because he knows Sainz is coming for him now. Ferrari looks really strong at this late phase. Here we go.
that's Leclerc and Hamilton,
Contact.
the two teammates battling wheel to wheel through turn one. Hamilton
both
has
of
the
them.
inside line. Leclerc's going to sweep round the outside. They're nearly touching, and Leclerc
They
goes
are.
through. Fantastic manoeuvre from Charles Leclerc. Hamilton's having none of it though. At the inside of turn three, how did they not touch there? Leclerc gets through to fifth. Fantastic manoeuvre. Wheel to wheel stuff. They were bumping side pod into one, and Hamilton's come off worse. I think Team LH have just had an absolute mass shooting with themselves because Leclerc's schooled Hamilton already.
First contact was Leclerc's fault, second was Hamilton's.
Yeah, they're just bouncing off each other. Here's a replay, Ed.
I didn't expect you to make a reference to the American school massacres, but yeah, there we go. Leclerc just tucks out at the last moment, so you can overtake from the inside, but you do have to really get your elbows out, and you can see them regenerating electrical energy as well as they go into turn two there. But Leclerc was able to really boldly go around the outside. Yeah, you saw as they just got past the apex, they nearly touched their rear tyre and front tyres there, respectively. But
Lando's gone faster, and he's now left Piastri completely vulnerable. The gap between Norris and Piastri, 1.2 seconds. I
think he's trying to give him more.
DRS, hasn't worked. Piastri's having to go defensive. Russell shot the... Oh, well.
I think he's trying
that
to
was
give
a
him
very
more time.
late move from Oscar.
Yeah.
See, he's moved up faster now. I think Lando was told to give him even more time.
It hasn't worked. Piastri must have made an error coming out that last corner. But I'm having a look at it again, Ed, on the F1 TV pictures that we've got up here. Let's have a look. So Russell's closing him in. Piastri does move in the braking zone. That's very, very late. Piastri
Might just about get away with that one. It just seemed a little bit of a desperate defensive move from Piastri. And yeah, Russell's certainly not going to take that thing down in the last couple of laps.
Mate, that was late. Twice now.
Yeah, that one I don't like. Piastri has said something on the radio as well. Here it is.
DRS by 10 milliseconds. Russell using overtake turn 14 to 16.
So Russell's been using the overtake button at the last two corners, and that's what they missed it by 10 milliseconds. Piastri made a mistake. Here it is again. Yeah, that's moving under braking. That is a bad from Piastri because that's in the braking zone. Russell had already gone for the move. You can't then go and block straight off as off the track when one of the Ferraris.
Honestly, it was probably both Lewis and
I think it was Sainz hitting the curb, and it seemed to bottom out a bit, and that was why there was a bit of dust being kicked up there. So nothing too dramatic for Ferrari. 5 laps to go, and if Russell can't pass Piastri, Sainz might have a go in there.
Yeah, Sainz is very close behind him, Megan.
It was George and Sainz.
Ah, they both went wide.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, yeah. I've just seen it on the replay camera. Russell touched the dirt, and then Sainz did it as well. Norris radio.
But tonight, yeah, I'm starting to struggle with the front, so do I save him or? Yeah, please help Oscar.
But if it is...
Do you want me to leave him to the Lions, or can I just go?
I'll never let go, Oscar.
No, Lando Norris is the babysitter in this scenario. That's what's happening here.
It must feel so strange for him.
That's Perez. New front wing.
Oh, this is.
It's not ready. It's
slow.
not ready.
I'm sorry, but this is the slowest pit stop I have ever seen in my life.
They don't care.
What I've noticed is since Lando is out of the championship fight, he doesn't care which McLaren is ahead, as long as the McLarens are ahead.
Yeah.
So he'll do anything to help Oscar.
Now he's surprising himself.
This is a reenactment of Red Bull with Max.
Yeah.
Perez.
Yeah, super slow, man.
It's like, are we going yet? Oh, yeah, we'll be done in about now.
They've gone from having...
Max is going to get a point.
Yeah, he's in PA. They've gone from having Greedo from Cars to having the pit crew from the opening scenes of Talladega Nights. The driver's gone out.
I think also it's a much less stressful one because clearly something happened to the front wing, or they just wanted to try out a different spec of front wing that Red Bull have brought with them.
But
yeah,
technically they're not allowed.
Oh, they're not. Okay. Well, maybe he must have damaged it.
They're not allowed to. Thermo race back open again once the sprint is over.
I just don't think they care.
But it's not over yet, so.
No, yeah, but once the sprint is over, they can change what they want.
Yeah, so is...
Okay.
The question is, when does Parc Fermé actually end in terms of this segment of the race? There's 2 Parc Fermés, of course, as Jess just mentioned, but has Parc Fermé ended when the lights went out? Because if so, then you can change setups, can't you?
Yes.
So
I would say when the lights go out for a race or a sprint, that is when Parc Fermé ends. Parc Fermé is after the end of quali and in between.
Yeah, because I want to know, because if that was illegal, that must be a same spec win.
I don't think it is illegal. I just think they just don't care.
I love to know.
And also, Joe did the same thing because he's about
Yeah.
8 tenths ahead of Perez now, and they're about 40 seconds behind everyone
Joe's
else.
not last.
You say that, Jess, but give it another 7.5 tenths of a second, he might be, because Perez is about to pass him.
Joe's just appreciating the altitude.
Yeah, 3 to go into turn 1. Norris is now backed up to give Piastri more room. Russell, I can tell you exactly what's wrong with Russell. Too tight a line through turn 1, and it's compromising him into 2.
He's driving too much like an F1 driver. You've got to get out of that mindset with this circuit. I
Yeah.
know it's hard given they are F1 drivers, but this isn't their circuit.
Yeah, this is a MotoGP specific built circuit. This is not designed for 4-wheel drive cars. People can say, oh yeah, but they've modified it. No, they haven't. This layout was designed for motorcycles. That's why it's long, sweeping corners. Qatar got MotoGP, Bahrain got Formula 1. That's why Bahrain's a brilliant F1 circuit and it's not for MotoGP.
Currently, on the track, there's only 2 people, I think, who are actually keeping in the mindset of a MotoGP rider instead of being a driver, and that is Leclerc and Hamilton.
Yeah.
Because they are driving like you would see a MotoGP rider.
Yeah, but they're not still...
Well, Hamilton won in 2021.
Yeah, Hamilton won here, led every lap as well, and became the first driver to win at 30 different Formula 1 circuits. That was Albon, wide at 1, and kicking up some dust as well from the gravel that they've put there to stop exceeding track limits. Right, over the line we go again then, with 2 laps to go of this final F1 sprint of the season. A little bit of sparks flying off the second part of the track, it looked like, actually.
There's something wrong in that picture there.
Russell's very late. Again, Piastri's taking the MotoGP line, Russell's taking the Formula 1 line, and Russell's coming out worse every single time. He's dropping 2 tenths every time.
He needs to stop doing that. Russell is what's wrong with the picture right now because he's getting such little speed from the corners he is taking.
What's the speed trap advantage? Yeah, look at that. Speed trap, Piastri 283, Russell 282. So they're similar, but that speed trap's before the braking zone for 1. So we need to see turn 1 speed, but we don't get that.
Piastri tellingly is falling out of DRS again. So,
Oh, yeah.
So this is Russell's chance. He's not going to get another one, I don't think.
These are all used medium tyres, by the way, that they're out there on. No one has chosen the brand new set. If you take a look, they're all used mediums. Some have done 22 laps, some have done 17 laps. In fact, the only one on new mediums is Franco Colapinto. Everybody else is on different setups. Look at Haas, 2 points ahead now in this session, so they will
3
be
points ahead.
3 ahead to Alpine, yeah.
I love how Lando's deliberately slowing down, and yet still he's not being caught by his own teammates.
Last lap, did Piastri get DRS in time? Russell's looking left and right. I don't think
Yes.
Piastri... No, he didn't. Piastri didn't
Yes, he did.
No, Piastri didn't get DRS. Russell did. And Russell tried to move on the inside line. Yeah, he was inside the second, but where the detection line...
It showed it again.
Yeah, detection line is outside of turn 15.
Who put that there?
And the activation, the detection line is 40 metres after turn 15. The activation is 205 metres before, after turn 16.
Can they just put this at normal places?
Yeah, he missed it. I've just looked at on the onboard. He missed it massively. The gap was not a second, so he's missed it.
It's 1.2 or 1.1 or something.
Yeah. Lando Norris is on course to win for the second time in an F1 sprint and the second sprint race in a row.
And a second McLaren 1-2 in a sprint race in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Brazil, it was orchestrated, whereas here,
Yeah.
it's not.
If I was Lando Norris,
Well, I mean, Norris has been given in DRS. There's a bit of orchestration going on, I think. Maybe not the full orchestra, but a little bit of concerto.
Wait. If I was Lando Norris, you would let Piastri through as favour for Brazil?
Yes.
I wouldn't. Not necessarily. I don't think.
But it's not going to happen. Over to you, Josh.
He's doing it! He's doing it! He's done it! I don't believe it! What a gentleman! Piastri wins, and Norris crosses the line in second. I said you should do it. That is a gentleman move.
Norris.
I have never seen that. That has corrected the universe. Michael Schumacher tried it in America in 2002 to give the police back to Rubens Barrichello. They crossed the line side by side.
Oh, they're proud.
And Norris gifts Piastri his second sprint win as a return for having to give it up in Sao Paulo. That is a gentleman move.
Saying thank you. Piastri saying thank you, and I think Norris should lose championships more often because otherwise that would have happened.
I saw that coming. I said if I was Norris, I would give him the place back, and he's done it.
Controlled race by McLaren there.
Yeah, thank you for the teamwork. Much appreciated, and great load of points, so thanks everybody.
Surely it's McLaren's Constructors' Championship to win now.
Yeah.
I love Jess. He said Norris should lose championships more often. Norris, who I don't think has won a championship since F3 in about 2017.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it
lose
wouldn't
championship
have
fights,
happened.
yeah.
That, I expected that. I saw that coming. I didn't think he would because it was in the last corner. I said, because we were the last one. I thought, oh, no, he's not gonna. Oh, and then he did.
That was dangerous as well. They were so close. 2 tenths separated Norris and just let me
They timed that to perfection. Well done,
That was
Norris.
brilliant.
I don't think Zach Brown knew he was going to do it.
No.
But the look on his face.
He
in the
looked very
pit wall.
proud, though.
Yeah. That is.
I want to hear Norris's radio.
We haven't got it just yet. As soon as we oh, hang on. What's this?
I wonder if they planned.
Happy with track 5. Both cars will do.
Oh, here it is.
Years ago,
Nice work, dude.
has a Formula One.
Just
That's
nice
quick.
work.
I wonder if Lando told Oscar beforehand. I think he would have had to, just like, okay, I'll lead, you pass.
I must admit that's balanced the universe nicely. Of course, you might remember Rubens Barrichello was told to give Michael Schumacher the place back in 2002 in Austria. He did it at the line, and then Schumacher tried to repay that favour in America by going side by side across the line. It didn't work quite the way he wanted to. He wanted it to be a dead heat, so they were both classified as the winner. But Barrichello, by, 2 thousandths of a second, got the win. So Barrichello got it back, and that's just happened again. McLaren may have orchestrated Sao Paulo, but history will now be sort of settled a little bit.
Was it?
It's 1-0. It's even. It's 1-0.
Yeah.
Was it Piastri's first ever sprint win
Here last year.
of any kind here?
Yeah. And that's his second sprint win, and he's done it back-to-back in Qatar, yeah.
That's even more of a present.
Yeah, secure
Will
pole for the sprint.
Lando?
Yeah.
Will Lando do the same in the race?
For Hungary? No,
No, but that's just doing Hungary again.
No,
though.
the other way around. Piastri do the same for Lando.
Well, he's not going to be ahead unless he makes a better start then. So he needs to do that first.
Well, we haven't even had qualifying yet. Let's see where they
Exactly,
qualify
yeah.
first.
I know exactly.
People say team orders, but yeah, people are saying that's team orders.
I don't think they knew.
I don't think it was team orders. That was Lando being a gentleman and giving the place back. As Oscar
Tell
Hamilton.
for the team radios that he wanted to help Piastri.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see
it was him who orchestrating it. It wasn't the team. It was Lando.
I could see the smile in Lando's eyes when do you know when they did that close up when he was driving? He was smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not.
Yeah, it was. I was almost certain it was Lando, and the team didn't expect it.
There's Zach Brown. I don't think that will happen. Sky, I believe, are saying, was it a team order? I don't think it was. I think that was Lando.
Lando's smiling. Lando's smiling.
Yeah. That's a lovely thing. I didn't think.
Give them a hug. Give them a hug.
Yeah.
Come on.
I assumed that might happen. I was thinking, yeah, they are going to hug. You're right. You've nicely done, Jess.
No, it's a photo op. It's not a hug.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a photo op, you donut.
So watch this. Coming out of the last corner, Lando lifts off massively. Oscar goes through. can we see that from the above angle? How close was it? Because Megan said it was close. So
it would have been dangerous if he did it earlier than that because of Russell was so close.
Yeah. And he immediately defended from Russell.
Yeah, Russell, I think, backed off. Yeah, they didn't know. Zach did not know, looking on that board there. As there's Lando. You can see he was smiling on his eyes. And he gives a little wave to Oscar alongside him. You're right, Megan, what you're saying. So that, I think, after the foul taste that everybody had after Sao Paulo, where Oscar had... We said it was right, because Oscar needed to give the place to Lando so Lando could go after the championship. But it left a foul taste.
It's all square now, because no one did the champion fight.
Bye-bye
I've got to go now.
All right, bye, Jess. Bye, Megs. Let's head down to James Hinchcliffe.
Place today in the sprint race, George Russell for Mercedes. Look, you had a very exciting race there with Oscar Piastri. Lost the position off the start, but just walk us through some of those battles and those runs down to turn 1.
I mean, it was very close going to turn 1 on a couple of occasions. It was obviously so frustrating every lap. Lando backing up, giving Oscar the DRS. Obviously, I understand why they did that, but when you're out here, you're fighting, you want to give it everything, and you want to put a race on for the fans, it was just pretty infuriating. But nevertheless, it was, P3 this afternoon is going to be the important one.
And so thinking about this afternoon, the...
Oh, the mic's dead.
Sorry, tires are a big talking point here at Qatar. How do the tires hold up? You had those mediums for the entire 19 laps. Did they hold up the whole time, or did you learn a lot for this afternoon as well?
Yeah, they were definitely dropping a little bit, to be honest. I struggled towards the end, but I think Lando had some good pace. Oscar was struggling a little bit. So it would have been good to be able to go head-to-head with Lando and see what the true pace would have been, as I think he had quite a lot in the pocket, just giving Oscar the DRS.
Yeah, well, less than a 10th off pole yesterday. Let's see what you got tonight. Congratulations.
Cheers, guys.
I think Hinchcliffe wanted to talk about tyres and couldn't think of a good segue. So he just paused and said, tyres are important.
Let's hear from Lando.
Second place, Lando Norris. That was an exciting final lap. But look, let's start at the beginning. Good getaway. You seem to lead the race comfortably. Did you have a lot of pace in hand as you held back to just try to keep DRS range for Oscar?
A little bit. It's always difficult to know. But we scored 1-2. That's what we were aiming for today. We've got maximum points. So we're happy. We're happy as a team. We've executed things perfectly. And I think the pace was good. I probably could have pushed a little bit more than what I was doing. But we wanted to keep the others behind, so we tried to help out and not let George get too close, So we did our job, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, it was close at the end there, though. A little bit of payback maybe for Brazil. How tight was it? Were you concerned that you were not going to be able to orchestrate that? I mean, it was a 10th and a second between you and Oscar, and only 3 more back to George. That was tight.
I know. It was probably a bit closer than what I was wanting. Yeah, but I planned to do it since Brazil, So, just what I thought was best. It's probably a little bit sketchy. The team told me not to do it, but I thought I could get away with it, and we did. So honestly, I don't mind. I'm not here to win sprint races. I'm here to win races and a championship, but that's not gone to plan, So I did the best we could, and I look forward to tomorrow.
Okay, real quick, let's talk about the physicality of this place. It's so fast. It's so tough on the drivers. You've done 19 laps. How was it?
It was tough. Yeah, my neck's not too happy, So. Yes, it's going to be a difficult race tomorrow. I mean, these conditions, these cold conditions, the wind, it's a lot quicker than last year, and it's even more physical, which I didn't think was possible, So it's tricky, but that's a challenge we got to deal with. I need to hit the gym maybe a bit more, but all good otherwise.
All right, congratulations and best luck this afternoon.
Thank you, mate.
Let's have a word with our sprint winner then, Oscar Piastri.
And your winner for the second time in a sprint in a row here in Qatar, Oscar Piastri. Look, it started right off the green. You got that great move around George, and then really for you, it was all about defense for the first part of the race.
It was about defense for the whole race, to be honest. Yeah, I had a good start and a good turn 1, obviously, and then, yeah, just didn't quite have the pace. I think I killed the front a little bit early on, and then, yeah, I was struggling a bit for the rest of the sprint, but some great teamwork. I think without that help, would have been a much more difficult sprint. So, yeah, nice to have a McLaren 1-2.
Now, you drive around in race format. You're 3.5 seconds slower than what you guys are going to be doing in qualifying here in a few hours. So, mentally, how do you change? How do you prepare for the next time that you strap in the car just in a few hours here to be driving that much faster?
To be honest, here it's probably the smallest change from qualifying to the race. I think in a lot of places it's 6 or 7 seconds, and the grip feels much different. Here we're still pushing pretty much flat out in the race. So it'll be a change for sure, but yeah, I think we've got a few tweaks we want to try and make, and hopefully make the car a bit quicker and make the driver a bit quicker as well.
And now that you got a sense of it from qualifying yesterday, do you think there's enough in it? I know you said a couple little mistakes on your lap. You got a legitimate shot at pole?
I think so, yeah. It's very, very tight. You know, I think from first to fifth or sixth was only 2 or 3 tenths, so there's not much margin for error. But I think we've got a few things we can improve a bit, and yeah, I think we're in for a shout. But everyone's keeping us on our toes.
All right, well, congratulations, best luck this afternoon, and now let's go to the presentation of the trophies.
Well, I think a remarkable race there, Ed. It was not the best in terms of overtaking, but a very key.
It's contradicted yourself.
Yeah, well, it was good in terms of gives us an idea what we could have.
There was intrigue. There was intrigue. Yeah. Interest. I wonder, because remember after Brazil, where obviously there was a sprint race where Piastri had to let him through, and then in the race, there was the interview where Norris said of the Alpines and of Max Verstappen, "Oh, they got ahead of me through luck rather than skill," and a lot of people came out of that saying, "Oh, Lando Norris is an arrogant, spoiled brat throwing his toys out the pram." And I wonder if he's done this with that in the back of his mind, essentially, sort of saying, "I'll show them that I can be magnanimous, then they'll stop talking crap about me." Essentially, I don't know. I'm not sure he thinks like that, but we know Lando's been quite open about, like, you know, mental health struggles and things like that. I wonder if some of that was playing on his mind in those last few laps when he saw he could, if I judge this right, I can give a sprint race win to Oscar and get some good PR for myself in the process.
The Seymour Skinner approach. Is it me? No, it's the children who are wrong. Let's confirm the results then from the final F1 sprint of the year. It's Oscar. Oh, there's a giant fly in my face. Oscar Piastri wins with Lando Norris in second. George Russell is third. Carlos Sainz 4th and 5th for Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton in 6th. Nico Hülkenberg gets 2 crucial points in 7th, and Max Verstappen picks up the final point in 8th place as well, his worst sprint result of the season. 9th for Pierre Gasly, with 10th for Kevin Magnussen. Fernando Alonso is 11th, Valtteri Bottas in 12th, Lance Stroll's 13th, Esteban Ocon 14th, Alexander Albon's 15th, Liam Lawson 16th, Yuki Tsunoda 17th, Franco Colapinto 18th, Zhou Guanyu 19th, and Sergio Perez in 20th as well. He never has any luck, it seems, in these sprint races at Doha. So, closing monologues. Omi's down there in the pit lane as well. Omi, what did you make of that ending and the sprint race as a whole?
Well, brilliant stuff, first of all, from Lando Norris. In terms of overtaking, not the best, but of course, I think the good thing that we can take away from this one is Mercedes have pace. McLaren can't really do this. I don't think they will do it with Lando Norris. Lando Norris won't do it over a full Grand Prix distance anyway. So we're going to get overtaken. We're going to get a lot of battling. But of course, we're going to first of all set the grid later on today. But it seems like we've got a little preview. This is what it was supposed to be. And it looks like we're going to be in for a very good race tomorrow.
Ed?
Yeah, so McLaren gained 7 points then in the Constructors' Championship with that 1-2 with Ferrari 4th and 5th. It certainly bodes well for tomorrow, but McLaren certainly didn't have things completely out of their own way. Russell did look still very well hooked up. He's still in a bit of a purple patch of form from Las Vegas. So a magnanimous gesture perhaps from Lando Norris, but it doesn't guarantee that I think qualifying or the actual Grand Prix will necessarily go their way. So there's still plenty to play for. We also didn't really see the best of Max Verstappen. I wonder if Red Bull's if they're going to be doing some stuff behind the scenes before Parc Fermé sets in again. Or maybe that was what they were trying to do with Perez, to see if they could test out something that they can use in qualifying to try and get Max onto the front row again. But yeah, certainly Red Bull doing a little bit of a muted victory parade, and McLaren really trying to nail that Constructors' Championship. I think Abu Dhabi's more likely, but we could see it tomorrow.
Would love it if we could just have Abu Dhabi as an all-out war for last lap honours as well.
I'm going to be more focused on FE on the Saturday at least.
Me
anyway,
too.
so.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be on the Saturday as well, as compared to back for Sunday's main Grand Prix. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Omi. Thanks to Jess and to Megan and to all of you at home as well. Sprint race then belongs to Oscar Piastri after Lando Norris sets right the wrong that was done with their team relationship back in Sao Paulo. Arguably, yes, that was done for the championship, but still, it's never easy to be asked to be moved over as well. So Little bit of a healing process. What's qualifying going to bring? Join us in a couple of hours' time for that. In about 90 minutes, you can join us for the F2 sprint race as well, with myself, Omi, in the box for that one. Thanks for your company for the sprint. We'll see you for qualifying. Take care. Bye-bye.